Hello there ladies and gentlemen, and welcome yet again to a Guild Wars 2 strategy analysis. Today we've got a Burst Hammer Warrior build. It's a roaming build and it's the start of our week looking at roaming. On Wednesday we're going to have another video checking out how to roam in depth, looking at different maps, different builds and stuff like that, how you can create your own builds. So don't forget to check that out this coming Wednesday. And last week we checked out midpoint defense, and the week before that we checked out near point defense. So go and check those videos to see all the different roles of tournament PvP. But for now we'll get into the start of this episode. For our weapons, we've gone with a great hammer in one weapon set and then the sword and shield in the second weapon set. Really nice little combination here, and quite unusual really for a roamer. Generally they're great sword base for the warrior, most commonly anyway, but this is slightly different. We take it a slightly different way. So the warrior basically works by having the closing gap there on the number 2, and then you're basically going to stack up a little bit of bleeding on them with that. You're not going to do a massive amount of damage, but we'll go into why you're going to be dealing this bleeding a little bit later on. The reason taking the shields, it gives us the shield stance there on the number 5, a fantastic ability, 3 seconds of blocking attacks. Really powerful, great ability there as well, especially seeing we're not too tanky, that's going to give us a little bit more survivability. We've also got the shield bash ability there, giving us a 1 second stun. That's part of the rotation I'll go into a little bit later on as well. For the hammer, we've got some really great abilities. I absolutely love the hammer for the warrior. It's a fantastic weapon. The burst ability is Earthshaker. This is a jumping ability that is not only a blast finisher, it's a gap closer for any direction you want to direct it, and it's an AoE stun of up to 2 seconds on level 3, which is hugely powerful in team fights. And it's really quick, 10-second cooldown on it. This build builds up adrenaline fairly quickly, so you can be able to spam that off fairly effectively, using it as a gap closer and getting those stuns triggered very often. You've also got a knockdown there on the number 5, the knockback there on the number 4, a cripple on the number 3, an AoE cripple by the way. That's really powerful ability. We trait that later, we'll show you why that's really good later. Weakenings there on number 2 as well, another really great ability, fits in really well, synergizes into this build. And the number 1 skill does an AoE on its last hit as well, which is really powerful. It adds AoE damage around anyway, but on the last hit it does sort of a smash on the ground, hits all nearby foes. Really strong weapon in general. So for our heal, we decided to go with Mending. This heals yourself and cures 2 conditions. For the utility skills, we're going with Frenzy, Balance Stance, and the Signet of Stamina. So the Signet of Stamina is basically your condition removal. Fast Endurance Regeneration as well helps, means you can dodge a little bit more, but yeah, it's all about that bit of cure conditions there. Really helpful, because you're often going to be focused by people who are going to apply a large amount of conditions on you, and this will remove all of them. Coupled there with Mending does give you some fairly solid condition removal in general. So for the other 2 abilities, Frenzy and Balance Stance, this is basically the standard combo for most warrior burst builds. You're generally triggering Frenzy and then Balance Stance to make sure you don't get knocked out of it, so you get the full burst rotation off. We'll go into what the burst rotation is a little bit later once we look through the traits, but yeah, really powerful combination of skills there. The final elite skill we've gone for is the Signet of Rage. This is basically the go-to elite skill for the warrior. I mean, the battle standard is okay for the revive and pretty much useless for everything else. It does give you stability while it's up, but 240-second cooldown is really harsh. And yeah, not a particularly powerful ability, and Rampage is an absolute joke as far as the warrior goes for PvP in my opinion. But the Signet of Rage is a fairly solid ability. It's not too powerful, but it's on only a fairly short cooldown. We take it down to 48 seconds with traits, and the extra boons themselves last 33 seconds. So you're only going to be spending 15 seconds without 5 stacks of Might, Fury, and Swiftness on you. So you're going to have 20% more crit, considerably more damage, and 33% faster movement speed, nearly up all the time. So that couples in really well with the rest of the build. So as far as our armour goes, we've gone with Superior Runes of Divinity, giving us plus 60 to all our stats and plus 12% critical damage. Pretty much the go-to rune choice for most burst builds at the moment. There are other options you could pick, but this gives us a nice all-rounder, and that 12% critical damage is really needed because the way we've gone other directions with the amulet. You can mix it up perhaps if you change out the amulet we use, we'll go into that a little bit later. For the hammer, we've gone for the Sigil of Air, causing a lightning strike, 30% chance on critical. This got a bit of a nerf recently, so it's a little bit less damage. If you find yourself mainly team fighting, I'd recommend going with the Superior Sigil of Fire. This gives an AoE fire burst, so could dish out more damage overall, but that's a personal choice there. Again, for the sword and shield combo, again you can personal choose these. We went for the inflicting bleeding there on the sword, and the 5% damage there on the shield. This can really be mixed up as well. Giving yourself a little bit more damage does definitely help, but you could perhaps go for something like the Bloodlust there to give yourself the stacking up of that to help a little bit. But the Bleeding, basically we want to get the bleed attacks off as quickly as possible, and just give us a little bit of way to stack them up a little bit more. They're not going to do a huge amount of damage, but we do need the bleeding on them because it boosts us up because of traits we've taken, but I'll show you that in a short moment. Lastly, for the amulet, we've chosen the PvP Knight's Amulet, Power, Precision and Vitality. You can mix this up and go for the Berserker's Amulet, which will give you a lot more power and a lot more damage. You get higher precision, you get higher critical damage, but the problem with that is that you're not actually going to get quite as much survivability. This gives us a hell of a lot of vitality. We can see that we did go for the Berserker's Jewel in the amulet, giving us a bit more power, precision and the 5% extra critical damage, so I would recommend doing that and not going full on Knight's Amulet. But yeah, it does work out quite well because it's a fairly solid amount of survivability. As you can see, it gives 28k HP, which is pretty substantial really. That's quite a solid amount, and we've got 1.2k toughness there backing it up, so we're not just a squishy health ball. It will hold out fairly effectively. Damage wise, we're fairly solid as well, 1.6k. Admittedly, that's not full on burst, but because the hammer is designed to be a fairly slow attacking weapon and we're triggering it with Frenzy, we're going to be attacking very quickly with it. So it's actually going to dish out some pretty high damage when it's needed. We've got 49% and 32% critical damage. Pretty solid setup there. So as far as our trait choices go, we've gone slightly unorthodox, and I'm going to explain that before we get into the actual full trait discussion. We've taken 10 points here in tactics, picking up 1 second immobilization when you cripple a target with a skill. I find this to be a really powerful trait. Even though it's only a 1 second immobilizer, it often forces people to waste their stun breakers, and it also makes them stand and fight as well, which is really good if you're trying to keep on top of someone like a warrior. If you've got someone trying to kite away from you, if you get this 1 second immobilization from them, they actually stand there and fight you for a few seconds rather than keeping running. So it can be a powerful ability. However, if you don't want to go for that, go 20 points into discipline and pick up movement skills, break and mobilization, and the 30 points into the arms for gain quickness for 4 seconds when you strike a foe with less than 25% HP. Two brilliant abilities in their own right. It definitely has their own viability and work fairly well themselves. I mean, the breaking immobilization is great because it means you can travel around a little bit faster, and the quickness boon there is brilliant when you're finishing someone off. 25% HP means they're nearly dead. You're going to get the final few blows off and then finishing them off, and then you're also probably going to get the finishing blow off in the quickness boon, which is going to get it off a lot quicker. So yeah, definitely good choices there, but it depends on what you want to do. For the rest of the trait choices, we've gone for 33 points to cause bleeding on critical hits, 50% critical hit chance against stunned foes. So this is basically working with the burst Earthshaker there on the hammer, basically laying down a 2-second stun, giving us a bit more, 50% more crit rate while that's up. So the rotation I will talk about now is basically you're starting off in this sword and shield, laying down a couple bleeds. You've got your gap closer there, and you've got your cripple, which is also an immobilization in there. So you've got some nice ability to keep them on top of you. You've also got defensibility if shit goes wrong. But then the main one there is your shield bash. So you're going to use stack up some bleed, shield bash, swap weapons into your hammer setup, Earthshaker, and then you're going to pop Frenzy and Balance Stance if you think you're going to be knocked down, or otherwise just Frenzy, and then you're going to be basically laying down Fierce Blow for the weakness. I'll go into that a little bit later on, laying down a couple automatic hits, then getting a backbreaker there, lay down some more damage. Do not trigger Hammer Shock or Staggering Blow, as they're going to do less damage, and Staggering Blow is going to push the person away from you, so you don't want to be doing that. So that's your basic rotation. Is just going to be opening up with the sword, laying down a bleed, stunning them, switching into the hammer, following up with another stun, combining that with the Fierce Blow, or you can go Fierce Blow into stun depending on what you want to do. Some auto attacks, knockdown, keeping them on top, down by you, keeping the pressure on, and dealing out some pretty solid damage. The rest of this build is going to show you why that gets even stronger. So we've got 10% increased chance on the burst skills, so we might get a bit more crit chance there on Earthshaker, which can deal some pretty solid damage. 33% chance to cause vulnerability on critical strikes. This is something that's open to choice. You can mix this up a little if you want, but that's pretty good. Each point of vulnerability gives you 1 more percent of damage you're going to be dealing on the target, so that can help a little bit. And then increase damage to bleeding foes by 10%, so that's why we're opening up in the sword and getting that bleeding off, so that's going to get 10% more damage in from that as well. Dex 20 points of defense, extra armor when health is above 90%. Increased damage to weaken foes by 5%. So far we've got this 10% coming in here and 5% coming in here because we've got the weakness there on the Fierce Blow, getting some pretty solid extra damage coming in over total. We've got this 50% extra crit chance because they're stunned. So basically we're just applying all these boons that are then being traded to deal more damage, and it works really well together. Regenerate health based on adrenaline level, so the more adrenaline you have, a bit more HP you're going to be recovering. Hammer damage is increased by 25% while a foe is disabled, so now we're hitting 25% there, 10% there, and another 5% there, so a huge damage increase on a disabled foe who's bleeding and weakened, which they're going to be throughout most of your rotation, so a really big strong buff there. 10 points in tactics we said about before, giving us this 1 second of mobilisation if you choose to go for that, and you also gave him 5 extra toughness per level while reviving, so that can help considerably as well. Discipline gives you 15 points, so you're getting gained 5 strikes of adrenaline on weapon swap. You're going to weapon swap fairly regularly, and you're going to be going from your sword burst into your hammer, so it's going to actually give you adrenaline to get you up to get the full burst off, or pretty much get the full burst off when you swap weapons into the hammer setup. Signets recharge 20% faster. This is a really great trait with this build. It basically makes the signet array be up nearly all the time. You've got 15 seconds down time between that, so it's not a lot at all. And it also reduces our cooldown on our condition removal, so that's a great little ability there. And weapon swapping recharges 5 seconds faster. A great another trait here, because it means you've just got a bit more viability. You can swap out in between your weapons a bit quicker and stuff like that as well. So some really great choices there, but do be aware with that 5-second recharge, if you go for on weapon swap sigils, they won't trigger as effectively. They have a 9-second internal cooldown on them, so if you're swapping weapons every 5 seconds, you're not going to be triggering the effect of them every time, so do bear that in mind. We're now going to get into a little bit of gameplay and discuss a few clips from different matches and discuss what's going on. So this match we're basically on the Legacy of the Foe Fire, and it's right at the start of the game, so I wanted to show this one first. I'm going to do it in normal speed and just pause it and stuff as we go along. So we're coming in here against this Mesmer, jumping in with a stun, opening up to make sure we didn't get any burst off, basically testing our damage on him as well. 1.2k there off the stun's pretty substantial, a fairly good amount of damage. Stacking up a little bit of bleeding on him there. So what we've seen now is that he's not actually particularly tanky, so we might not need to put our full rotation on him. At this point we should be hoping to get the weakness off on him though, because it's going to dish out, reduce the amount of damage he's able to deal on us. So when we come in there, we get the knockdown off, and then the stun of basically we didn't take him down to hardly any HP now. He's stealthed using some sort of ability there, and we're just dishing out some damage. It may have been traded for it, perhaps a 25% HP trait there to make himself stealth, but yeah, we've sent him down into the down state very quickly. We did use our frenzy and the balance dance there to make sure we got those finishers off. Also, this is a structured PvP match, so it's not a tournament match. So notice how we didn't instantly go for the finisher on him. We waited the time and went past 58 seconds. In tournament PvP now, everyone has an individual respawn timer at the moment. It's a recent change that was made. Whereas in structured PvP, they're still on wave spawning. So when we're wave spawning, basically wait till it goes past 58 seconds, 38 seconds, or 18 seconds before you finish someone, or otherwise they're going to get a very quick respawn. So a nice little tactic there to be pulling off. So as a roamer, you're quickly finishing your job at one place and moving on to the next. We quickly took over that central point and we came over to the quarry. There's a 1v1 going on here, and your job is to get in there and finish it. It doesn't look like our teammates got the victory anyway. This Guardian's dominating fairly effectively, sent that Necro into down state. We weren't really needed there at all, but we had to come over because that's part of our job, just to move very quickly. If this had been a proper game with like proper communication, they would have already said they're not needed there and would have headed straight towards the waterfall and gone to support over there instead. Instead we just secured the double cap. So coming back here to the graveyard, notice how we're just checking the lines of sight down the 2 lanes, making sure no one's incoming from those points. Seems we've got a player coming in from behind, so we've got a Necromancer here. 3k there with a burst, a massive amount of damage there from the hammer burst ability. Following that with the weakness there, getting the off the... So now we've got him bleeding. He's also got the weakness on him. He's got vulnerability, so we're dealing some extra damage. Every time he's now disabled, we're going to be dealing a huge amount of extra damage. We've got the 10% extra from bleeding, 5% extra from weakness, and 25% every time he's disabled. We've gone for our full burst here. We've triggered Frenzy and Balance Stance, so we're now invulnerable to any CC, and we're also able to dish out some massive damage very, very quickly. You see here just dealing out this high damage all around the 2k region until he got us there with weakness. We actually triggered back on ourselves. So we did well there to actually get the weakness off on us, but it wasn't enough to save him, and he has gone down very quickly. A second Necromancer coming in now again. So our key burst rotation here is on cooldown. For some reason they're wasting the number 5 ability on the shield. It wasn't needed. I guess we were probably fearing getting focused. We were probably the lowest HP member on this on the team at this point, so they could have focused us quickly there, like HP wise over the bar. So what they're looking for is obviously a low HP target to initiate on. So there we quickly got ourselves retaliation from that actual the field that was laid down by that Guardian. So do pay attention to the combo fields around you. Use them to your advantage. Coming in here, hammer there for the 9k, sorry, 1.9k, just got some solid damage on this Necromancer. He's got the pull ability there, laid down by that Guardian. You can just see he gets eaten up. This hammer is so strong. They just destroy targets so quickly. So yeah, we finished our job here and we're going to move right on. The quarry's under contention, so we're going to head over there. So we're on the Battle of Kylo at the moment, and basically we just saw a thief picking up their repair kit for their trebuchet, and he's heading back to repair it. They've got a thief using the trebuchet for the red team. So basically what had just happened, we'd capped the point of the windmill very quickly with our team. We secured that, and then we saw this player, we moved straight on to go after them. We've procced our elite skill, which has given us a swiftness boon. You can see, however, the thief does have his own signet up. That signet gives him a 25% speed increase, so we're only slightly faster than him, so we're not actually going to catch him as effectively as if he didn't have that up. It is fairly unusual to have a thief running the trebuchet. It's probably the second best bet after the Mesmer, but Mesmers are so strong at controlling the trebuchet. They're used by nearly all teams. But anyway, we're coming up to him now. Jumping in here with the number 2 ability, following that up with the number 3, so it's going to apply the cripple and immobilization, but as you can also see, it's also going to apply vulnerability and bleeding because we crit. So really powerful combination there. That single crit there applied the immobilization because we had the cripple being applied, but also applied the vulnerability and bleeding on him. So we're getting a whole pile of stuff instantly hitting onto that thief just from that one single attack. A really good synergy between all the stuff. So we stacked a few bits of bleeding on him there, and then we stunned him also as he procced his haste ability, so we've completely direct countered his haste there. He's still continuing to run away, but yeah, we're now going to be able to swap into the hammer, get in front of him because we've got the cripple on him, which just slowed him down, countering that 25% increased movement speed. We've still got the last bit of our swiftness up before it wears off, so yeah, we're doing really well here at the moment. Getting in front of him, timing that knockdown well, getting the knockdown on him so he's down in the down state. Following that up with the stun, dealing a massive amount of damage. That burst skill is really powerful, 3.1k there on the swishy thief. And then we're going to be able to finish him off very quickly. We've got the burst skill coming in there, dishing out some damage. We did sort of, well, we used the frenzy and balance stance at the end there. I feel that was kind of wasted. It wasn't completely needed, especially now as because it's a thief that able to teleport and down state there, so we actually missed the final blow on them. If it had been another profession, it probably would have been a bit more worth it because we would have guaranteed ourselves to get the quick finisher off. But yeah, unfortunately there we didn't get it completely off. But yeah. So this scene here was actually just after we defeated the trebuchet for the second time in this match on the Battle of Kylo. Killed the player who was controlling it as well, so we're able to move on now and perhaps pick up some supporting kills at the clock tower or the windmill, wherever we needed. We don't want to trace too far from the windmill, from the trebuchet, sorry, because it is our job to keep that down as much as possible, so we don't want to be pushing off too far onto the rest of the map. But as we come up here, we get engaged by its elementalist, so they instantly came in with Ride the Lightning and Updraft. That means we know they've got a dagger in their offhand, which means a scepter or dagger in their main hand. We quickly check on them, quickly turn the camera around there. You can see they've got double daggers. Getting this information is really important. We now know they're going to have to fight us in nearly melee range. It's going to put them at a solid disadvantage, but they've caught us on the back foot at the moment. They've not done a hell of a lot of damage with the opener at all, but yeah, we have been caught on the back foot, and we're now have to go fall back a little bit. So we're applying a little bit of damage to them there using the sword and shield combo. We've got the stun off on them, which just basically broke up what they were doing. It just interrupts them, gets them out of their flow, gets them out of their pacing. A lot of players get caught with muscle memory and start triggering abilities off. You are paying too much attention what's actually going on the screen, so getting those interrupts in can help a lot, especially with that stun there on the shield. So we're falling back here. Another option would have been to go for our Shield 5 ability, which would have actually given us some immunity against the damage, but the daggers can be fairly condition based. They can apply quite a bit of burning, so they could have been going for that, and obviously the shield does not protect us against any incoming burning damage. But basically what we've done is applied enough pressure to them to make them fall back. We can see they're fairly weak. We only dealt them a little bit of damage with our sword, which is nowhere near the power our hammer can dish out. So yeah, we've just fallen back ourselves, pushed them back a little bit, and we're now going to engage. So we've dictated the battle a bit here. They've come towards us, and we've actually dictated this area, the small confined space to take the fight to, by falling back up the top. We could have gone over the ledge and given us a wider space to fight, but we want to hit them trapped as much as possible once we've got them. It also makes the number 4 on the hammer more viable because the knockdown will keep them actually in range as well, making it a lot more useful. So we're opening up with the weakness and triggering frenzy at the same time. Trying to get a stun off there. They actually managed to interrupt us, but now they're going for a really big ability. This is one of the earth skills. It deals a hell of a lot of damage and stacks up bleeding. Can be really strong, but it's going to take too long to channel, and we've got too many interrupts, and we're going to easily interrupt that there. So we can see with the stun, so we now have taken that to below half HP. And now we're getting a bit of burst off there using the one skills, just dishing out a little bit of damage. They're falling back. We've still got both our knockdown and our cripple there. So we hit them with the cripple and immobilization, keeping them up close to us, giving us time to get the knockback there, knock them down just to interrupt the flow, stop them from escaping. They have chilled us, so they obviously are going to go for an escape now. They're trying to slow us down, but that knockback there has kept them close enough to us that we can then come in and go for a knockdown, putting them into the down state now with just a couple blows, and that really basically just showed effectively how to put someone into the down state when you're just in a 1v1 encounter, and just bring them down very, very effectively and quickly. So this clip I wanted to add in just to show a bit of pacing of Aroma. So we're picking up a very quick kill down on that Necromancer, just finishing them off very quickly and instantly moving into the central point. Moving around the map very quickly is really important as Aroma. So we're coming onto here, we can see 3 players in the red team, jumping in with a stun, not holding back anything back. We're fairly tanky with this build, more than most roaming builds. On a general roaming build you probably wouldn't have taken that risk, but this has a bit more power in it, and because it's got that AoE stun, AoE knockback, we could take the risk and get on point quickly to stop them from neutralising it, so we're still gaining points all the time. And you see we're just here, we're not hanging about finishing players off, we're just dishing out our stuns, playing with our rotation, dishing as much damage as we can, getting that frenzy off, but be careful with frenzy in team fights because you do take 50% more damage, which is huge, so to be really careful when you are triggering that. Bringing down that lightning elemental there of the elementalist, just quickly finishing that off, chasing down this necromancer there. Stun, cripple, using our burst skill there to apply mobilization as well. We could have done that with the number 3 ability rather than wasting our burst, but it wasn't needed too much. We actually went down, but we got a quick revive of our teammate getting a finisher in, put this elementalist into a bad position. The blue team there picking up 2 or 3 kills, I believe, in that entire encounter, very quickly securing their points and just dominating. We can see the waterfall is currently being captured. Just checking our teammates alright by coming up here. He seems to be fine. Line of sight in the area, and this area up here, I'm just going to pause the camera, is a brilliant area I find as a roamer. If you've got 2 roamers, this is sort of your station, I find. It's a really good position to stay in because you can pick players up before they get onto the waterfall, and there's also a mirror image of this over by the quarry, so you can pick players up before they get onto the outside point, so they don't actually get any ticks off of it at all. You can see them coming, and you can also jump onto the graveyard very quickly as well. So that pretty much concludes this episode. We've got another show coming out on Wednesday as tips and tactics looking at roaming, so if you are interested in becoming a roamer, which is what has been featured in this episode, check that out. But if you're not, we also had some shows looking at near point control and mid point control over the last 2 weeks. Go back and check those out, and next week we're going to be looking in depth at far point attacking, and that's the final role of tournament PvP, so stay tuned for all that stuff coming up next week. Thank you all very much.